Well, hello, boys and girls. It's when we feel like 8 o'clock. I'm Pearlo Wisdom, and this is Steel from Steel Flyers, and we're coming to you live from my Seattle apartment and from Philadelphia, or no, Pennsylvania. Anyways,
Close enough.
close enough. Uh,
In the snow buried, winter storm locked eastern seaboard. Yeah, there you go. How's that?
yeah, crazy weather going on lately everywhere. Greece got snow in Athens. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, right. That very rarely happens. Like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait, Texas got a boatload of ice, right? And then next in the next couple of days, it's going to be in the 60s.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing I wonder about, like places like here, we get snow and then it stays all winter and then slowly we warm up and eventually, it all goes away. But places like Texas, they got to be worrying about flooding now after all of this, right?
Exactly, exactly. And you know what? Speaking of flooding, boy, have we been flooded by a lot of really awesome games lately in the NHL. Oh my
The
gosh.
hockey is insane.
Oh,
The
it's almost like Christmas every day.
Yeah, it's getting to the point where you can start to see where they're likely going to be uh, one goal games mostly from here on in. Like it's everything is so tight, everything is so
Oh, I
close.
see what you mean. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because it's
Uh
like playoffs every day right now.
Almost, yeah. Yeah. And now with especially as we are moving forward now and as we play more and more games and more teams go through the COVID protocols and more teams have some stoppages in play for periods of time, and it rotates around the league, and as teams come back and teams leave and things of that nature, you're going to have extended seasons, or you're going to have some crunch time here at the end of the season, at least to the point where they're going to try to get all the 56 games in. You know what I mean? Because of a lot of the scheduling and stuff like that. So that's going to be the interesting thing, I think, moving forward in the league is how are they going to handle the schedules moving forward with all of these teams missing multiple games in time.
Yeah, I think they're okay right now. They started moving games forward, like, but so
Right,
so they
right,
can
right,
fill in
right.
the gaps a little bit and stuff like that. I think they're okay right now. Uh, I wouldn't want too much more to happen though. Uh,
That's what I mean.
that's where it's going to be difficult. And not only that, like we're talking about tight games, a lot of that's going to be because you're going to have like really tired teams playing. Like what just happened with the Vancouver Canucks, where you're playing. I can't remember what it is, 16 games in 20 nights or something like that. There's going to be other teams that are doing that
Well,
sort of thing.
they opened the season playing what, 10 games in like 13 or 12,
Yeah, 7 and 10, and then it was
and
it
and
was
then and then they did another stretch where they did a whole boatload of games
yeah,
in a row there as
yeah,
well too. So yeah,
it was crazy. It was crazy.
yeah,
And you're
you're
going to
gonna
see,
get that.
you're probably going to see Colorado have to go through that now, Minnesota, New Jersey. They maybe Philadelphia, Washington lost a week won't be that bad, but some of those teams that lost like a lot of days, they could be in big trouble for sure.
Exactly, and not necessarily if they lost days, but the players that they've lost and the time that they've lost and when they come back and everything like that too. So
Yeah,
it's not just the fact that the teams and everything are shutting down, but the fact that they're also missing players past the point of when the teams are coming back.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. It's really, it's really crazy in the league right now. Uh, like a team could go from worst to first to worst easy just by having a COVID problem. Yeah,
Just by sitting down for 10 days or
yeah,
11
and not
days.
getting their guys back. Like Minnesota, the last game they played against LA had three guys that hadn't played in the NHL for years in their lineup because They had
needed to have,
they
yeah,
needed to fill their roster.
exactly. And you know what? New Jersey's going to go through that, and Philadelphia's going to feel a little bit of that bite
Yeah,
too, because they're going to be without six of their major guys, even not just tonight, but also for the Tahoe game.
they are they? Okay, it's going to go stretch
Yeah.
all the way to then.
So, yeah, there's going to be six guys at least that are going to miss this game tonight, and then also the game on Sunday as well too. So, it's far-reaching, and it's the effects are overwhelming. I think to a point where I'm going to be very interested to see how the league moves forward with the scheduling, because you can't have guys play that many games and still expect to have a decent product put out on the ice. And not only that, but now you're potentially risking the health of players because you're playing them night after night after night. You know what I'm saying? And you can't grind people like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what these taxi squads and everything were supposed to be used for. And I think eventually they'll start being used more. But right now, I think you're right. The people that can manage their overall roster or overall manpower are the ones that are going to be most successful. But it's really tough when when coaches or teams keep on putting their best players out. You want to match it for that game. You feel like you're going to lose it if you don't. But I think in the long run, it might you might actually win more games if you were to do that.
I mean, look, they put the taxi squads out there. We were, I would like to see if they're going to use the taxi squads, and let's see them use them.
Yeah.
Let's actually put them into use instead of just kind of being a holding place to keep guys from going on the waiver wire or whatever the case is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think we're going to start to see that now, especially as more and more teams get affected by the virus and that have time where they're missing games and they're missing guys.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's very difficult because nobody's really had to. You got to really think outside of the box here because nobody's had to work with this or do this. You don't know. You
Exactly.
don't know how much
Exactly.
each player is going to be able to hold on. The other aspect's going to, when guys start playing like this, what happens? Injuries, right? Uh,
That's what I mean. That's why I'm saying you can't like have these guys continually be playing 9 games in 11 nights. You know what I mean? You can't be doing that for big stretches of the season because, a group of teams missed a week or so because of COVID and they had to reschedule all your games because you missed 2 games that you were supposed to play.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so, that's the other thing, too, that they're not taking into account, I think, is the fact that now that you have a team that was supposed to play a team, well, now that game gets postponed. Well, that team now suddenly gets the night off,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And well, I guess we get the night off now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not just the team that's going through the COVID; it's the team that gets
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
the night off now because they had to reschedule stuff and move things around and change stuff.
Yeah. And then they're going to have a compact roster. It's going to be like extremely difficult to predict a lot of the things that are going on. Like we all had Vancouver making the playoffs, and I still think they're going to come back. I still do,
Well,
but
the Islanders look like they've turned the corner. You know what I mean?
maybe.
Like they didn't start very well, but I think they've turned the corner now where they have, they're kind of an 8-5 team now and they've scored a little bit more points and they seem to be winning more of the games than they were losing in the beginning of the year. You know what I'm saying? So it seems like the Islanders might have. I'm only rooting for them because I picked them to win the East. Look, if they don't come through, I'm not going to be terribly that upset.
Well, yeah, I don't know if that's really schedule related, but I see what you mean. But Vancouver was pretty much schedule related. And
Agreed.
now when I
Agreed.
picked Vancouver,
But there's other teams out there too, though.
when I picked Vancouver, I honestly hadn't taken the time to look at that they had that right off the get go like that. You know what I mean? I might not have. That's what I mean. Like, there's a lot of things that I don't know who's going to go through this. brutal stretches like that now for the next little while. And how are these teams going to handle that? You got a young team like Vancouver. Can they bounce back and believe in themselves enough to get out of the hole they're in? Right? I may not have
Yeah,
chosen. I
exactly.
may not have chosen Vancouver to make the playoffs, actually win the West.
Yeah, right.
With if I would have
But they're not in the
if
West.
I would have been, or sorry, win the North, I should say, right? Uh, win the North if I would have known they had such a schedule like that right off the get go. So
Yeah, okay. I can see where that would have definitely have made a major impact on choosing them to win
yeah,
the division, especially when you start off like that, and especially with how Montreal and Toronto have just exploded in the North,
mm,
you know, and have pretty much taken over there. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I can understand that, and we all kind of looked at Calgary and thought, yeah, okay, and we all looked at Ottawa and thought, okay, and Ottawa's definitely not or lived up to expectations or not lived up to expectations.
well, I kind of say a little bit of both. I mean, I didn't think I it was we should have known really because they had a lot of changes in their lineup and they weren't a strong lineup. But we were saying before that we were concerned about Montreal because of all the changes in gelling and all that stuff like that, which they appeared to not have a problem with. But
Exactly.
but now I didn't even think about Ottawa because I just thought they're a bad team anyways. I just thought that they weren't going to be quite that bad, and then I thought, well, why didn't I think that? If I thought Montreal might have a problem, I should have thought Ottawa would have the same
And
problem.
have the same problem, yeah,
Yeah,
because they're even younger and have less of a group of guys that say that Montreal does.
yeah,
They're
absolutely,
the
yeah.
young core at Montreal is a much better young core than what it's in Ottawa right now. So obviously, you're going to look at that and go, yeah, all right, well, okay, Ottawa, and so they're playing up to expectations, sort of, I guess. You know, but I have to say this though, I've been rather shocked by some of the play of late of Montreal with that little losing streak they had there.
Mm-hmm.
That was a little bit unimpressive.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just Carey Price that played bad either.
No,
Okay.
no, 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 no. You're no.
Okay. So you can't just blame it on the fact that Carey Price didn't play well.
Mm-hmm.
Allen didn't play all that well neither.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
and and so and the team didn't play all that well in front of them. So that was a little bit disappointing. But also seeing a little bit more of the resurgence of Florida and seeing that team just come out and smack Tampa Bay.
Mm-hmm.
That one game, the first game they played was 5-2, smacked Tampa Bay. Then a couple of days later, they played again, and Tampa Bay smacked them back 5-2, right? And then I think they played the rubber match, and I think that was a real tight, ugly, tight game for that one as well too. And I can't recall who won that game either, but I mean, that to me is some really good stuff. And I really appreciate the schedule now more and seeing all these great teams playing over and over and over again.
Oh yeah, I do love that. I love this rivalry stuff that's being created. There's more fights, and that's always good.
I was just gonna say, last week when I did the off the wall hockey show with John, and right after my surgery, I didn't get a chance to do a lot of shows, but I had a great opportunity to watch a lot of hockey. And the first month of the season, I hardly saw any fights. Well, that first week of my surgery, man, I was like, I saw more fights in that week
Yeah,
because now we're the first month into the season now, and you've played each of your rivals now at least 2 or 3 times
yeah.
already,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay, so there's already that contentment or that hatred there,
Contempt.
you know,
Yeah,
because yeah, contempt.
yeah,
Yes, thank you.
yeah.
So you already got that there, because you've already played them 2 or 3 times. You know what I mean? And you're just waiting for the next time for the next team to roll in. Like, all right, here they come.
Yeah, I think it's going to get more and more as we go, as they have these 3 or 4 game series and have things in their memory banks on their way back. That's I think that's definitely going to happen a lot more. So since you opened the door to that, we might as well head over to last night's games. And the one you seemed to, before we got on here, you seemed most interested in talking about. Well, at least not maybe most interested to talk about, but you were enjoying quite a bit last night was the Florida Tampa Bay game. We could talk about
Florida, Carolina.
Carolina, I should say, Florida Carolina
Yeah,
game.
yeah.
Um,
Oh man.
I had this Florida team. Quinville has got this Florida team rolling pretty darn good. That, I think when it really comes down to, and it's like anything, like when I like to think about who's going to be may win the cup and all that kind of stuff like that. I think the thing that really needs to permeate in a team is belief. As soon if once when a team like Florida comes around and they're in the zone like they are right now, the word that comes to mind is these guys just totally believe in themselves.
Yeah,
They totally believe they can beat anybody right now, right?
and they've bought into the system.
Yeah,
They bought into Quinville's system, right? Okay, because look, you can't just be that coach, and you got to have that little bit of time for everybody to kind of gel and everything like that. And with the amount of turnover that they've had over the last 2 years, and then with Bob coming in, and that's the other thing too. Bob has been one of the reasons why Florida's played has looked a little better. I mean, his backup has played really well, but Bob has played really well too. And we all said that if Bob plays at least what 80% of his Vesna self, and he has a decent backup, that Florida has some decent chances.
yeah, yeah. They played Drigger last night again though.
And he looked
Yeah, he
good.
does look good. He looks like he could possibly be the new Bennington.
I mean, he could definitely take the pressure off of Bob up there in Florida. It looks like the Gudis is paying off. It looks like that whole Yandel thing is big time playing dividends out there for Florida. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And holy, that was just that to me was one of the. I try to look at each game and decide on okay, I compare it to, wow, I really watched this one game, and that was the best game I've watched so far. This game here was one of those better games, I think, the Carolina and the Florida game, because it was back and forth, and it started with Florida coming out and then Carolina coming back. You know what I mean? And Carolina is facing a little bit of adversity right now. You know what I'm saying? With their goalie being out and hurt and stuff like that. And so the fact that they took Florida to overtime, the fact that you have to look at Florida now and you have to respect what they're doing. They're 1 point behind Tampa Bay right now.
yeah. Out of all the wins at Florida, and that includes Tampa Bay, out of all the wins that they had so far this season, I personally think this was the most impressive one. Um, because with
Well, the first Tampa Bay win, I think, was their first impressive win because it wasn't just a 5-4 overtime; it was 5-2.
yeah, but Tampa Bay did not show up that game. They didn't.
All
They
right,
did
I'll give
not.
you
They did
that.
not play well. This was not a Carolina team that didn't show up. They beat Carolina playing really well here.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because they got outshot there for a little while during this game,
Hmm.
and then was able to, even it back out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I know I agree with you 100%. But the fact that Florida has been playing really well is exactly goes to what you said. I think Quinville has got these guys playing well and believing
Hmm.
that they can play.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And look, we talk about that when we talk about Boston, where when Boston comes in,
Hmm.
they don't think they're going to win.
Hmm.
They know they're going to
Yeah.
win.
Yeah.
And that's a mindset, and that comes from the coach down.
Yeah.
Because you can't you have to get that from the coach. You know what I mean? You have to get that mindset from the coach, I think, in my opinion. And then that's the message that goes out throughout the room. Where we're not expecting to lose, we're expecting to win. And that comes from confidence. That comes from doing it. That comes from being in the trenches. I mean, look at what Boston's done and look at what they've accomplished. They were the President's Trophy team last year. They went to the playoffs. They went pretty far. They were pretty highly seeded. You know what I mean? Yeah, they dropped Chara and they got rid of some other guys too. But look at where they are and look how well they're playing. I mean, it's like Chara Hill.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're not playing slouch teams and they're not playing slouch games, and they're not rolling over teams. They're beating teams 2-1,
Mm-hmm.
1-0, 3-2. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Finding ways to win games.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, what I've heard from great coaches that's basically, yeah, that's really what coaching is for the most part. I mean, there's a lot of analytics and X and O's and stuff like that.
Well,
But
yeah.
most players will tell you that most of that stuff they've heard from different coaches here and there, right? Again, you know who I'm going to bring up, Tortorella. Uh, but they asked him. I heard him asked once. He said,
There's the clock,
yeah,
baby.
I heard somebody ask him once, like, do you get angry at players? And he said, I get a lot of people. I don't know. I'm perceived that way because I'm competitive and I'll lose my mind and I don't treat the media very well. He said all that stuff, and then I get perceived that I do. But there's only one time I really get mad at players, and that's when they don't believe in themselves. And I thought that was one of the greatest quotes I've heard from a coach because that's really what it's all about, right? When you believe in, if you have, I've had coaches in my past that believed in me, and if somebody believes in you, you have more likely to believe in yourself. So if they believe in you so much that they're going to get angry at you, if you don't believe in yourself, that's probably a really good coach.
I'm here to tell you, every single coach that I've ever had in my lifetime that was like that to me, I would run through a brick wall for.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, because they believed in me no matter
Mm-hmm.
what. And not only did they believe in me, but they helped me and guided me and showed me and taught me ways to how to be better.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so and that wasn't just coaches that I was able to get that from. I mean, I was able to get that from uh bosses.
Oh yeah,
A guy
absolutely.
you,
Yeah,
you
leaders,
know I
leaders in your life.
I worked with a chef
School teachers. Yeah.
who I worked with a chef who was from Austria, and this guy was so regimented and so. I mean, Austrian people are very regimented people. Okay, and this guy was to the hilt. He was so regimented, and but I learned so much from him about that. And then I learned from a master chef that was from Thailand. And he had a completely different style, completely different way. But I learned so much from him about so many different things, not just about cooking, but about life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And see, that's where people kind of don't necessarily associate hockey with coaching and learning things in life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, we got way off on a tangent there.
Yeah. But I mean,
And we started talking about Florida and Carolina, and we
well,
started,
at
okay.
this point, I don't think you can talk about the Florida Panthers without talking about Q because it's a big thing. I mean, when he was in Chicago, I know you wouldn't hear this from the players at all, but the perception was you had Taves, you had Kane, you had Keith, you had these great leaders, right? So it kind of took the edge off of, maybe it wasn't Q, it's just he had really good leadership. And I remember what I would say is, well, ask them how they became great leaders. And I'll bet you they'll say it has a lot to do with Q. They were there from the time they were young. I mean, Kane did not come into the league with, if you remember what happened with Kane when he was young, he had some issues right off the get go at a club and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I believe he started off with Philadelphia too, didn't he?
No, Kane, no. Kane's always been Chicago. Yeah,
Chicago. Who was the guy that started at Philly
yeah.
and then
Oh, that might have been. Actually, yeah. It wasn't Sod, was it? No.
no?
I have to think about that first for a bit. Wasn't
He was one of the guys. It was one of the guys very early, and I think that's who it is.
wasn't Kane? No, Kane was drafted by Chicago.
Anyway,
Pretty positive. I'll look it up just to make sure. I'll be
you do
I'll
that.
be floored if I don't know that. If he was in Philly first, but
Oh my! All right, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first.
what?
What? We got to write this down. Perlo did not know
Yeah, whatever.
February 20, February 18th, 2021. No, just
But
kidding,
he
man.
always. It's not much different when going to a different sport. Now that Brady's gone, right? He doesn't have
Yeah,
Belichick.
we're
Was
hoping.
it Belichick? Was it, Belichick was it did it because they had Brady? Was it Brady or Belichick? They now that Brady's left that organization, the pressure's on. Like, is Belichick the reason or what?
Well, here's the
But Brady
thing.
goes and wins a Super Bowl right
Well,
away.
here's the thing.
So
Okay, so if you take the basically what they did was is they added a couple of pieces and parts down there for Tom Brady. They added a offensive lineman. They added Antonio Brown.
yeah,
They added a defensive lineman guy, and uh, they put Tom Brady in Bruce Aaron's system. And Bruce Aaron's system is very similar to the Belichick system, where he takes advantage of the quarterback doing the high percentage plays. So that's the screens, that's the short 10, 5, 7 yard plays out, and then occasionally taking the shot downfield with your guys running deep, long balls. You understand what I'm saying?
mm-hmm.
That also involves a running game, which he never had in New England for the most part. He only had that 1 or 2 seasons, those 1 or 2 Super Bowl runs they had. They actually had a running game. They had a running game in Tampa Bay. That's another contributing factor. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So, I mean, they took it. Bruce Arians took advantage of Tom Brady's skill set and put him in the best position to win Tampa Bay a Super Bowl.
mm-hmm.
And it worked. And that's all Bill Belichick was doing, too. What? It ain't rocket science here, folks.
Yeah, I guess. And then Cam Newton's no Brady either.
Exactly. And they didn't have near the defense that they did even the year before.
True.
They didn't have the
Yeah,
same defense.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I, I would have liked to have seen Tom Brady be drafted by, like, say, Detroit or Cincinnati.
Start from the bottom. Yeah, sort of like what Burrow is doing with the Bengals.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And see him go through 3 or 4 or 5 offensive coordinators, 5, 6, 7,
yeah,
head coaches and all that stuff, and how all those teams are, and see how he goes.
yeah.
See where he is.
Right.
I guarantee you he doesn't have nearly the same record that he does today.
Well, of course not. No, there's definitely restrictions to everything. But getting back to the to Q in that same regard, is there was a stigma, and I don't think it had anything to do with him leaving Chicago or whatever. It just happened to be that it worked out that way. They got Coolaton, who is, like I've mentioned before, an absolute genius young coach that they couldn't lose because he could be their coach for the next 20 years, like Q. Or Q's not going to be their coach for the next 20 years because
Exactly.
he's going to be too old. So it was only circumstantial that he moved
Right.
on.
I
He
agree.
moved on somewhere else. It wasn't because of
I agree.
any of this I'm about to say, but
Right. And he took a year off, too.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He's going to find his right spot. At the time, it was Talon who built that Chicago team that was over at Florida, so it just seemed like the right thing for him to do. But as it turns out, his the lore of Q, if if Florida keeps going like this, and I don't doubt that it uh, will grow even further now because
I agree.
this is adversity that he's really never had, and he's overcoming it and bringing these people along really well. Um, you What I love about this team more than anything, and maybe I never really just didn't appreciate it anywhere near enough. And like Q, this turned out being the best thing for him, I think, as far as how he'll be remembered for the rest of his career, is Hornquist. Uh, this guy is playing in a way that could have MVP implications even without the points. He's just such an amazing leader.
And yet,
Overshadowed in Pittsburgh by
by a long shot.
Crosby and yeah,
Well, duh.
exactly.
Okay, but also, look, everybody talks about it, bringing Bob in $10 million a year, but he's not the reason why they're not where they're at. He's one of the reasons why they are there.
Yeah, I don't think Bob has really played overly well yet. He's just played better than last year, which was really not. Drigger's still playing better than him.
Well, I mean, but that's what I
Yeah.
mean. Yeah, yeah. See, that's the key right there. And look, if Drager can come in and play really, really well and help Florida to some good wins and a good record and help keep them in the fight, then all you need to do is have Bob come in and do mop up duties and play his couple of games and you know what I mean. I mean, I don't know. I think Bob has played better this year than I think of last year, and it just seems like he's a little bit more tuned in. I think a little bit more this year.
It's weird. I just realized our chat for some reason is disconnected.
Rutro.
That's why we haven't had anybody say anything here.
Oh, okay.
That's weird. Wonder why that is.
Oh no. Oh yeah.
It says chat disconnected. Please wait while we try to reconnect you.
Well, that's a boomer.
Yeah, that sucks.
Well, there's people in it.
Yeah, I was wondering why there wasn't anybody. People weren't saying things because usually by now they would have. Let me try the pop out chat and see if it works. I've had this happen before, and I did the pop out chat and it worked. Look at that. Okay, I did the pop out chat and it's I can see everybody now. I don't know why. Hey y'all.
Hey, everybody.
Hey y'all. For some reason I wasn't seeing your chat. How you doing, guys? Sports geeks, welcome. Moran. Oh yeah. So, anyways, that what what's awesome about what we're just doing here is that we talked about Florida for like 25 minutes, and it was interesting. That's to me what's awesome about all of this because the league needs Florida and Tampa Bay and all of that. We need them to be competitive and great. So for if we're going to compete with football and baseball and all of those sort of things like that, although baseball is really shooting themselves in the foot, but this is a perfect opportunity for us to bring in these warm weather hockey fans, right?
Exactly. Can't go wrong with that. I mean, especially where you get these, out of major market teams like Florida that's playing really well. That's getting big name coaches like Quinville. That's getting big name
Yeah.
players like Bobrovsky. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's all good for hockey, no matter how you slice it all the way around.
Oh yeah, and not only that, to have a team like Florida, that like back in when they first made the finals that one year, if you remember when they had Van Beesbrook and the
Ah, the
the
Beezer.
Beezer, yeah, and a lot of nondescript names. The rats on the ice and all of that stuff like that. And we all thought,
Yep.
hey, you know what? This Florida team, almost like Vegas is today, they've got a niche. It's gonna work.
Or like what Carolina was doing there last year
Oh,
when they started doing those cool
I
celebrations and
I'm
stuff.
glad you find those cool. Yeah, I love those.
Come on. Why can't what I don't understand is why aren't more NHL teams doing
I
that?
don't know.
Because what a great way to A, involve fans, B, involve the rest of the hockey audience.
Yeah,
Okay? I Look, we've watched a lot of hockey, and there's a lot of guys out there that talk hockey. And the reason why we're doing this is because, well, let's be honest, we're not really liking what those guys are saying, right? I mean, that's why we're doing this.
Yeah, well, yeah, yeah.
I want to hear about the games. I want to hear about hockey, and you know what I mean.
My favorite though was when they were doing all this, and we have this old school guy here in Canada that we had, and you've heard of him, Don Cherry. A lot of people in the United States apparently never really heard of him because they don't see the Canadian television. He's not that,
Well, right.
yeah,
Hockey Night in Canada doesn't broadcast here in the
right.
States.
But he's
Sadly.
like this old school guy, and like in old school, you're not supposed to celebrate. You're supposed to score, and then put your hand up, yay, whatever, and that's it. But you're not supposed to like try to show the other team up and blah 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 bull crap as far as I'm concerned. Um, anyways, so he called them a bunch of jerks on the air, and like
Yeah, I remember that.
couple days later, Dondon, who I love this owner, by the way. This is the owner that allows all this and does all this and
Oh,
comes up with all
yeah.
this stuff.
Yeah.
I love this owner. He makes a whole bunch of merch up that says a bunch of jerks on it. What a great! That was freaking awesome. I've been a Carolina fan ever since. My second team in the East ever since.
I'm
I
with you on that.
love
I'm
that
with you
team.
on that.
It helps that Rod Brindamore's there.
Yeah, that helps too because I really like Rod
Of
Brindamore too. I
course.
liked him a lot as a player, and I really respect what he's
Yeah.
doing as a coach for
If
sure.
anybody doesn't like Rod Brindamore as a player, they just don't like hockey. There's just
I'm with you on that. I'm with you
no way. Anyways,
on that. But I will say this though. I will say this. Carolina is still fighting. They need better play from their goaltending, and they need a little bit better play from their defense. But I think if Carolina can keep it together, they might still have a shot to stay up there because believe they have what 18 or 20 points as well. So they're not that. I think they have 18. So they're not that far behind Florida. Out there, so that they can still be fighting for the position.
yeah. Yeah, oh no, Carolina's going to be okay. I think if this was a 7 game series, Carolina probably would pull it through. Especially like we've talked, we don't. It's like a broken record when we talk about goaltending. But that was the other thing I wanted to mention about this game before we go on to the next game, is that it was also impressive because Nedeljkovic did not play bad either. They found a way to beat Nedeljkovic. It's not like Nedeljkovic was Swiss cheese out there. He's looking better and better all the time. Actually, he might be able to steal the number one eventually in that organization, which is what they were hoping for. But Nedeljkovic played well. If people see Nedeljkovic and a lot of people would see that and think, oh, okay, well, Carolina lost because of Nedeljkovic. No, Carolina lost because Florida beat them.
I agree with that. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah,
I agree with that 100% because that game was to me, that was a very evenly matched
yeah.
game. It was very back and forth. And the fact that it seemed like the goalies were standing on their heads and making those really good saves. And the shots that went in and the goals that went in were basically the goalie had no chance
Yeah,
in some of those goals. I mean, that one spinorama pass goal there to tie the game or whatever was well, that was one of the best plays I've seen
oh,
so far
that
this
was
year.
that Huberto to Wenberg. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
Yes.
crazy. Yeah, Huberto's insane. Like he's now that if Florida's going to play like this, one of the great things about it will people know who Huberto is. Like he's a superstar.
It's amazing. I saw that in real time and was like,
Yeah,
Well, I had to rewind it and watch it again. We're like, whoa, that was pretty good. Yeah, getting past both defenders and being able to do the spinorama and get the tape to tape
Yeah.
pass for the. I mean, the goalie has no chance on that. There's
Was
nothing.
that the overtime goal? With the 3-on-3? No, that
No,
wasn't that.
no, no,
That's
no,
not.
no,
No, that
no.
was before that. Yeah, I'm almost
Yeah,
positive. Yeah, that was. I'm trying to. I remember the goal. I'm just trying to remember. I'm pretty sure it was
I think that was when it.
Hubert
I think it was
Hubert Oda
when they
Wenberg.
caught
Yeah,
up.
Hubert Oda
Yeah,
Wenberg. Yeah,
when they caught up and tied it to make it 3-3
yeah.
is that goal right there, right? Because the save right before that was
Well,
amazing.
that
Okay,
was
so
Carolina that got that one. That was
yeah,
Svechnikov to Trocheck then. Yeah.
yeah, that's it. There you
Those
go. Oh my
those guys are. I mean, both of those players. Trocheck this year. This is such an interesting game as well. We're going to go on with it. I don't care because this is a fantastic game. It's going to be a great series, and it's great to talk about both of these teams. Carolina and Florida are not known as hockey towns, and here they have like,
no,
but
and both of them have 10 wins,
yeah,
right? And both of them have 20 points. So what? I
yeah,
mean, come on.
yeah.
And they're all up there fighting with Tampa
And they
Bay.
all have and they have players that were on each other's teams before, like Vincent Trocheck was on Florida, so
I was just gonna
not
say
too
that.
long ago, and yeah, so I mean, there's a this is it's going to be a great rivalry. This Carolina, Florida, Tampa threesome rivalry that's happening right now is pretty exciting to watch.
I agree. I agree. That's been some of the best games. Those have been some of the best games of late that I've been able to watch. Was some of those games right there, And I'll tell you some of the other games that I've really enjoyed watching too was um, Toronto and Ottawa. Should we talk about that one?
Sure, if you want
Should we get into that one a
to
little
get
bit?
into that series a little bit, yeah,
Yeah, that's been back and forth surprisingly
yeah.
because we weren't expecting Ottawa to be. I mean, I don't know. I'm just it's hard when you have a team that's trying to do what Ottawa's doing, and then you come up against a team like Tampa Bay, and the fact that they've been able to stand with them a little bit and not necessarily get utterly punched in the mouth every single game. Every game they've played against Toronto has been a close game.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about this for a second, but I just noticed on the pop-up chat because my chat thing is not working. CL asked, do I
Uh
think Bennington's going to stay with St. Louis long term? We'll get to that in a bit. John from Off the Wall Hockey's here. Of course, the GOAT. How you doing, my friend? And NHNR is here as well. You're never late. You're as long as you're here. We're never late. There is no time here at Pearls of Wisdom Industries. Have you ever seen when I start and finish? Don't worry about it, buddy.
Hey, as long as we get full 42,
We give our
what?
full 42 every day, though. Every day.
That's
Full
right.
42. Yeah. I don't
It
know.
might be a small 42
There,
or a large
there
42.
was a couple days ago, I think I only gave 27. I was pretty sure, though. I think I had
All
more
right.
to give yet, and I didn't. So I'm going to have to owe you somewhere down the road. I don't know how I'm going to do that since I can't give more than 42. I don't know how. You may just have to live in lack for the rest of your life.
All
Okay,
right.
let's get.
I think
Okay,
okay.
so Ottawa Toronto. I'll tell you what the Ottawa Toronto game, or that series to me is a wonderful contrast between this highly skilled, sexy team with Marner and Matthews and Nylander and
Matthews,
these slick,
Thornton is
awesome, hot
back.
shooting, big name guys. Thornton,
Yeah.
Spezza, Anderson, Riley, and then this Ottawa team that comes in and says, "Yeah, I know who you are. I'm just going to beat you." Okay, I
Yeah,
don't, I
right.
don't, I
Smack.
don't so,
What?
yeah, yeah. Oh, hi, Mr. Matthews. Give him a punch.
Smack.
Might you feel this punch in your mustache there, sir? I don't I don't care who you are, you cheesy
No.
mustache goal scorer guy.
Uh,
You doesn't
uh,
matter. That's
It
what
doesn't
I.
matter if you got Tavares on your team. It doesn't matter.
No.
We don't
Does
care.
it?
We
Is
don't
there
care.
anybody besides Leafs fans that are rooting for the Leafs in that game? No, nobody. Everybody wants Ottawa to beat them silly, right? Am I right?
Look, I'm gonna say this, okay? I have been taken by Toronto and their record and how they've played this year. Okay, because I was a doubter at the beginning of the year with whether or not Toronto could put it together and keep the defense and get some goaltending and put it together and do well. Well, sure looks like they've gotten the goaltending. Yeah, the defense has kind of come together, and well, dang, looks like they are doing pretty good. So much for doubting the Toronto Maple Leafs at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, and NHRN also brings up the point, and John brought it up when we were talking about it, that not having Simmons allows Ottawa to do that more than they ever did before, too, right?
And he's out for what, 6 weeks with a broken
Yeah,
wrist.
that he got fighting.
That's man. That's such a shame because he had 5 goals and he was playing really well and he was he was the spark plug to their team and blah blah blah. I mean, come on, Lane Simmons playing Wayne Simmons play type
Yeah.
play, and.
But Wayne Simmons was playing Wayne Simmons type play better than we had seen him for a very long time. There was a, there was
Well, he's
there was a
healthy.
new.
He was
Yeah,
healthy.
I think it has to do with the fact that he lives in that area, Toronto area too. There was like a whole new, like, this is his dream to play for the Leafs.
Like that's where he's from,
Yeah,
right? That's where he was
yeah,
from.
exactly.
And so yeah, playing back there is obviously a dream come true. I mean, that's like every Formula One driver wants to drive for Ferrari.
Yeah, yeah,
It doesn't matter who you are. Every driver wants to drive for
right.
Ferrari
Of course, yeah,
because Ferrari is the big cat on the block,
yeah,
and everybody wants to drive for them. Everybody wants to play. Like if you're from Toronto, you're from that area. Guess who you want to play
yeah,
for? The Maple Leafs. Come on.
yeah. I am from Toronto, but uh,
You don't want to play for the Maple Leafs?
no, not really.
Oh,
Um,
Pearlo,
if
you
I
traitor.
actually made it, it's easy to say now while I'm sitting here
Oh, yeah,
talk.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to talk.
Yeah,
I'd
no.
rather play for Carolina, thank you. It's easy.
Dude, let me put it to you like this, all right? If Toronto Maple Leafs even sniffed your
Oh yeah,
way,
yeah, yeah,
you'd be like,
yeah. Don't
okay,
get me wrong.
sure
I
thing.
would talk about, or if I could be part of any organization whatsoever, I would jump in a
Who
heartbeat.
cares?
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
I mean, look, we have loyalties and we know where the heart is, but we also know where the paycheck has to come from.
yeah.
And, so I get it. But,
But I left. I
yeah,
left the Toronto Maple Leafs as a fan when I was fairly young, and it was because this is going back to this game. It was because of Rick Tocchet, Rod Brindamore, Craig Berube, Eric Lindros. I became a Philadelphia Flyers fan because of those players. Toronto didn't have much of that. Wendell Clark,
not during that time.
hardly ever, to tell you the honest truth.
Not during that
And
time.
they
Yeah.
sucked too. I mean,
And
they
well,
just were
like I
bad
said,
for a long time.
they've had their time between Stanley Cups is about as long as it is for the Flyers.
1976, 67, 67. Longer,
67
long,
for the for the
longer.
for the Maple Leafs.
Yeah,
All right, so it's 10 years longer. All right.
yeah. It's
Well, that's even worse. Well, I'll tell you what. If Toronto continues to light it up like they are right now,
yeah,
okay. Look, we're they've played let's see, and then 17 games now,
yeah,
right? We are pert near halfway now.
yeah,
I mean, we've got what, 5 or 6 more games and we'll be halfway,
yeah.
give or take. Okay, and it's going to be tough to climb out of any. I mean, gosh, at this point in time during the season, I think even Maple Leafs could probably get miss a couple of games and still be leading the division. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they've built up such a lead in points and stuff that I think it's going to be tough for. I mean, you're going to have to start mathematically eliminating teams here shortly.
Yeah, not too far away. But and Toronto, the thing about Toronto is they did this during a very tough schedule themselves. They played almost more than anybody else as well, besides maybe Vancouver. So they went through this ride through a very tough schedule. And when you think about that, they might have been a little tired up against Ottawa as well.
Yeah, I agree.
But
I
um,
agree.
that being said, Ottawa had a rough go to begin with, and kudos to them for turning it around. But
Yeah,
when it comes right down to it, like I said, it's just when you have those sexy teams like that, everybody wants them to lose. It's just the way it is. It just everybody wants the grinding teams to win. Really, pretty much. Most people are like that.
well, unfortunately, wasn't the case last night for Ottawa, and it was Toronto. 2 points on that
Yeah.
one. So I have to tell you that the should we move on to the next one?
Yeah,
Do
pick
you
one.
want
You
to?
pick one, buddy. Yeah, go
All
right ahead.
right, okay. Well, since we spent a lot of time talking about the North, let's stay in the North then, because we'll save the Chicago game to last.
Okay.
Just because we're already in the North, and it was mostly a northern,
Yep.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
So the Vancouver game against
Yeah.
Calgary. Wow,
Yeah. Yeah.
wow.
The, this is turning. This division's turning voodoo. Just when you think that like everything's happening upside down all the time. Ottawa beating Toronto, and now here Vancouver goes into Calgary after losing to Calgary with their better goaltender in. They
And just has
they
a
put they
whoa,
put
okay.
Holtby in, who's been hot trash all season, and they destroy the Flames. Maybe just decided they can take. I watched
The night
I
off.
watched the game. Was there what was really? It just looked like finally Vancouver found their legs. Is that going to stay that way? I don't know. I've been saying all along that I still think Vancouver's going to come back, and this gives me a glimpse of
It
hope that maybe
does
it's true.
seem
But
it does yeah, it does seem because that whole stretch of games that they played there, they still won 4 games.
yeah,
Okay, and they still got some points throughout that stretch of games. If they would have not gotten nearly the points that they got during those stretch of games that they played there in the very beginning,
mm,
we would not even be talking about Vancouver. Okay,
yeah,
so the fact that they were able to hang on to get those points, and now I agree. I think exactly with what you're saying is happening right now.
yeah,
I think they're getting their legs.
yeah,
I think they're finally starting to, you know, I also feel the same way about the Islanders too. Like I look at because we both thought that the Islanders were going to play a lot better this year, and I think they're just now starting to get their legs now too. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what's going on with Vancouver. They played a lot of games. They finally had some days off. You know what I mean? And they finally had some days where they can, there was a couple of days in between games now,
mm,
where they had some rest more than just, hey, we played a game last night and now we get the day off so we can travel to the next place to play tomorrow. Or they had a consecutive couple of days off there for a little while. So I think that really, really helped them turn the corner.
yeah. Yeah, I what I saw when the amazing thing I saw last night, and I guess this is what came to me last night that maybe I didn't really get into my thought bank until I saw it. One thing we got to say about Vancouver is they probably have really good goalie coaches. You know,
That would be a good call.
they brought in Markstrom from Florida when he was
Yeah.
young, and they brought him up. And if you look, he's in Calgary now, and except for last night, he looks like a Vesna candidate.
Yep.
Um, they worked with him and brought him up till he became like that. Demko, look at him in the playoffs last year,
Yeah.
brought him in, turned him around. I can't
Looks
think of
good.
a goaltender that went to Vancouver and didn't do well. So Holtby.
Well, we'll see though. We'll see how it goes this year because they brought in
Well,
Hopi.
that's what I was just about to talk about. Holtby comes in. The last time he played, he's rolling his eyes at the bench and he's like blaming the players in front of him, which when that's just a don't do. Like it's just a don't do. It's bad for the energy of the team. I get it. You're
you know,
frustrated and all that kind of stuff like that.
it's not that it wasn't. It's not that that wasn't necessarily warranted. He had every right to be upset at the defense at that time. Okay, but you don't express it in that manner. You know what I mean? You do that in the locker room when you're there with all the guys and the cameras aren't on you and the media's not there and
Yeah,
whatever the
yeah,
case
yeah,
is.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you don't do that out there on the freaking ice in front of
You don't
everybody.
embarrass your teammates like that. Like that was really, and okay. So what happened after that was, um, I believe, if I remember correctly, they went right back to him the next night,
Yeah?
and he got his ass handed to him. Excuse my language, but they lost, and they lost, and he was mainly the main reason why.
Don't hear anything more from Mr. Holpe now, do you? You don't see him rolling his eyes anymore now,
Yeah.
do you?
So, but then he didn't play for a long time. They played Demko over
Yeah.
and over and over again. So it
Yeah.
was kind of like they said, okay, you know what? You may be not as great as you think you are right now. So why don't we just why don't we just buckle down here and make sure your game is okay before we go rolling our eyes at the rest of the team, right? This feels like what happened here. I could be wrong, and
Yeah.
he did, we're
Yeah.
Dem's gonna play for the next little while, and we're gonna work on your game for the next 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
You got
Yeah.
to do some homework here,
No, it's more of an attitude adjustment, I would think.
and well, that's kind of part of the attitude adjustment. I'm sure that these guys are great goaltender coaches too. He probably did have some stuff to work on his game, and he wasn't about to do it until he got a spanking, and he kind of did. Like rolls his eyes,
Exactly.
goes out the next game, loses it for his team, and then they can go to him and say, "Okay, are we ready now? Let's go work on your game." Okay, so
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. And
interesting stuff there. I thought.
I agree. I agree. And I'm looking forward to seeing how Vancouver is going to handle the beginning of the year adversity and how things have been rolling here with Holtby and things of that nature. That's becoming quite the story now. So we'll see how that develops. I think for the rest of the year, I think we got some good stuff coming up here with that, and especially even with this series, this Vancouver Calgary series, because I think these guys are going to have to battle it out a little bit until Vancouver turns the corner a little bit more and takes that next step.
Yeah. Well, as far as Demko and Holtby,
Well, just as far as playing teams to get over that hump, to get more into the mix of being considered for the playoffs.
yeah, yeah, and I mean they've shown in the past that they can be much better than they are. Now that being said, we brought this up with Vancouver yesterday that Tanev. We talked about it with Carolina and coaches bringing an energy to a room, but sometimes you have players that do that too. And when a team can lose a player who maybe on the ice is average or maybe just above average as far as talent is concerned, but they
Yeah.
bring something in personality and team leadership that is hard to replicate. And it seems that Tanev, they're having a difficult time getting over that hump. I mentioned it several times that his nickname at that time was Dad. That's what they call
Ooh.
him. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So he was like a dad to these players, and this is a young team.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and he
Okay.
leaves, and the defenseman that replaced him was Schultze and Oli Ulevi, another young player. So they're kind of left on
Yeah.
their own right now to find
They
somebody
don't
to
have quite that leadership anymore.
exactly on that back end. So They're struggling a little bit there, I think.
A lot of interesting storylines have been developing, especially this year, with a lot of these teams, especially with inside the teams and within, especially a lot of these interdivisional or these interleague rivalries. You know what I mean? Where certain things happen and certain players do certain things, and it sways the rivalry one way or the other. And I don't think the NHL was necessarily counting on it being this good because this is some of the best hockey that I have watched in a very, very long time.
Yeah.
Okay, if you look at games from the last 5 years, there was always the same group. I mean, I'm not trying to take away from the skill of people, but I'm just trying to say that it just seems like this year we're seeing more of the skill of the teams more so than what we have in the past, where more of those other teams that you don't necessarily see all the time, like the Vancouvers, like the Calgarys, like the Anaheims, like the LAs, are getting more exposure.
Hmm.
And you're starting to see more and more teams and more games on TV and being exposed to people watching. And you're starting to see, that's why I think we're seeing some of the best hockey that we've seen in a really long time because we're starting to see more of the league and less of just the Crosbys and just the you know what I mean, just the zero in on just these specific guys, and you're seeing more of the players from the rest of the league.
Yeah, well, you're saying that basically from an American perspective because I mean that's always been the
Yes,
case here in Canada, right? Like,
yes,
we don't. It's not like that where they're just trying to sell a player, and that's American television
yeah. Okay,
way
so
of
like
doing things.
you've watched the broadcast of a Washington Capitals and a Philadelphia Flyers or a Washington Capitals and a Pittsburgh Penguins game,
Yeah,
right? And all they talk about in that game is either A, Ovechkin, or B,
yeah.
Crosby.
They try to sell their. They think they're doing best to sell their stars, and
Right,
I'm not so sure that that is the best way to go,
right,
really. I don't
exactly.
understand why they would think that because it's not. It's
That's the mindset that thinks that they think that sells, that gets people to come and watch. Look, let's face it. You would be more apt to tune in to watch a game that had Alex Ovechkin and Sidney Crosby in it than you would be apt to seeing a game with Braden Holtby and
sure,
Boser in it.
right. Yeah, I know what
Who are
you.
those guys?
Besser. Okay, Besser is pretty amazing, but yeah, I see what you mean. Like
But you understand what I'm
the
saying,
big
though.
name guys.
Those are not household names.
Yeah,
The guys on Calgary, people have no clue who they are. The guys in Vancouver and Winnipeg have no clue who they are
yeah,
for the most part.
yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And so, sorry about the co-host there. But that's the thing in the American game where or the American television where they promote that specific player and that's all they talk about. And you listen to the guys that announce the games and broadcast the games and that's all they talk about. They talk about that one player. They don't it's like they don't know the names of the other guys on the team. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? That's how it's sold here in the United States. Okay, and it's frustrating because it makes it so that teams that don't necessarily have those big name stars, like specifically Carolina, they don't have an Alex Ovechkin on their team. You know what I mean? And they're an off-market team, and teams like Florida that don't have that Sidney Crosby type name
hmm,
on their team. You know what I'm saying? And you're starting to see a lot more of those games and more of those teams play, and you're starting to see more of that. And that's what I'm really enjoying.
yeah. No, that's great. I think that has a lot to do with the fact that other sports aren't really playing much, but also I think it has to do with the fact that um, the game is just growing. it's finally reaching that point where people are just waking up to this humble type game that we have here in Canada. Like there's a humbleness to it in a way. You know, there's a lot of the
It
things.
is because there's a lot of hard work that goes into it.
Hmm,
It's not easy,
yeah, yeah, no, that's right. Yeah,
you
absolutely.
know.
Yeah,
It's not. It's hard to win the Stanley Cup. Okay, it's hard to be an NHL hockey player. Okay,
hmm,
to me, hockey players and I'd have to put basketball players in that kind of same breath. I think are some of the most um, amazing athletes in the world because you look at what a hockey player does for his 2 minutes that he's on the ice
hmm,
and the amount of energy and the amount of physical activity that takes place during that 2 minutes.
yeah,
And then he pops off the ice for a minute or two and then pops back on the ice for another minute or two. Right? And you're not just skating 10 yards or a yard or two, you're skating 200 or 400 or 600 or 1,000 in your shift because you go back and forth 3 or 4 times. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So I'm just appreciating the fact that we're watching some of the best hockey I think that we've seen in a really long time, and the fact that we get to talk about teams like Vancouver and Calgary, and we get to talk about teams like Florida and Carolina.
yeah. Well, you know, you bring up a good point that because you have this rivalry now type games, the emotion to the games are fantastic. And now people don't really, and when you see that, and when you can watch that, and you can feel that, it doesn't really matter that it's Florida and Tampa Bay or whoever it is,
Or
the
that there's nobody in the
or
stands.
that there's nobody in the stands. It's just it's you get to see the game at the most competitive level. And I hope that they can recreate this after this somehow. I really hope that they look at the way they do the scheduling to be
Yeah,
able to create more of this.
more of
Do
this.
do what do what baseball does, where you have 3 4 game series against teams. You know what I mean? All through
Yeah,
the
because
year.
baseball plays twice as many games
Yeah,
as
yeah,
as hockey.
yeah,
So yeah, they have a series, a little mini series where they'll play 3 or 4 times in the span of a couple of days. You know what I mean? I would love to see that happen in hockey. To
yeah,
me, that to me would be the best improvement that hockey could make right there.
yeah. And that's what's happening now, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
watching St. Louis, Arizona. Normally, nobody would watch that, but it's and maybe there's still not, but I bet you they're watching it more now because they just had a 7 game series where you know, and there was fighting and there was scrappiness and there was there was like this honor, like you're now playing for pride a lot more because this team you're playing for dominance when you're playing those. It's just it takes it to a whole nother level. I hope they
I
don't change it.
agree.
I hope they don't
And
change
you
it.
know what I think's going to end up happening? I think the NHL is going to take a look at this and go, "Hey, that was a pretty good idea. Let's do that. Let's make the schedule so that teams play." And this goes back to what even me and John were talking about quite a long time ago, when we first got to see the schedule for the season and how the realignments and everything were going to take place, and we were like, you know what, this would be a really good thing for hockey all day long if they just did more of the interdivisional games and less of the send the team out west to do an out west swing.
Yeah,
You know, we don't need to do that anymore. Where every NHL team has to visit every NHL facility
mm,
so that everybody gets a shot to be on TV. That's not the case anymore. We don't need to worry about that anymore. With the way things are streaming, with how you can buy tickets and or buy packages and streaming things that you can watch games from Arizona and from LA whenever you want to now. You don't have to worry about the fact that it's not on the NBC network or wherever.
yeah,
You see what I'm saying? So the availability of watching those out of market games now has become much more increased.
Yeah, from what I understand, I think the people that don't want it are the owners because of television. But I don't know why that affects them so much because you brought up that television doesn't really change all that much with them. They get a package amount, right? Don't
Well,
they?
if here's the thing though, if what might happen is that some of those games might be blacked out because of the FCC.
Okay.
So they might not get televised. So if those games aren't televised, then they don't, you know what I mean? So and the amount of money that is generated and made from the TV contracts to the NHL is such a small amount of money compared to what the NFL is.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean? So it's like instead of sending the teams like I'll give you an example. This is the thing that me and John talked about. Instead of Boston going out and playing San Jose and the Kings and uh, and the Ducks, okay, instead of them doing those 3 or 4 games like that, or sending them down to Florida for those couple of games in Florida against the Panthers, or whatever. Those way out of market, out of league games that doesn't really mean anything for Boston. You know what I'm saying? That they're just potentially points. Instead of playing those games, reschedule it so that they play those little mini series where instead of playing, the LA teams, you play an extra game against New York Rangers, an extra game against the Islanders, again, an extra game against Pittsburgh, an extra game against Philly or whoever else is in your division,
Mm-hmm.
and you spread them and you make that so that they play those little mini series and get rid of those wild swings where the team traveled 4,000 miles today and for this week they've traveled 16,000 miles because they had to go to do the LA swing and then they came back to do the Florida swing. And then, you understand what I'm saying? But logistically, that even makes more sense because now you're not sending teams way out and
Yeah.
way back. And
Yeah, I think that's what it is though. Now that I think about it, because out east, if you were to play mostly Eastern Conference, right? If you were just to play the East and hardly ever come out West, if ever at all,
yeah.
the problem would be that the flight variance would be so drastic because out West there's way more flying.
And the fact that it's 3 hour difference.
No, what I mean though is
But that
the
too.
reason why Edmonton goes to New York, and personally I like it when you see different teams play each other like that. But I get your point. But the reason why Edmonton goes to New York and does an Eastern swing is because it's actually cheaper for the owner to do that than to only be in the West Division because the in the Western Conference there's so much more flying, way more flying than the Eastern Conference. I mean,
Well, yeah, because there's so much more space in between where the teams are.
exactly. So I think that's part of the reason why they have it. So the teams from West do go out east. It's partially a financial thing because
I'm not saying take those games away.
yeah, it's just not as much.
Okay.
But
Yeah, but don't have look, why do we have to have a home at home with a San Jose team? Why do they have to come out east and
that's
we go
true.
out west?
That's true. Unless of
Right?
course
Why do we have to do that? Why can't we just do it once a year and then alternate? So once a year we go out to San Jose, play San Jose, and then next year San Jose is coming to wherever
yeah,
team.
yeah, maybe that might work. Yeah.
Right? That way you still get everybody still goes visits every stadium every year and you play every team,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's what the whole thing was. So that everybody played every team at least once.
Mm-hmm.
All right, look, I don't have a problem necessarily with that, but I think it would do the NHL better to do more of like what you suggested, Steve, by having them do what the Major League Baseball is doing
Yeah.
and have them play little mini series. And John from Off the Wall Hockey had suggested that too, and I think awesome idea.
Yeah,
But hey,
yeah, I do too. But I can't remember what the problem with that was. I have to. I'm sure it'll pop up again.
I'm sure we'll hear about it or something like that. And hey, how about those Oilers?
Yeah,
Even with Smith in,
yeah.
still won.
Totally voodoo.
What happened?
Totally voodoo. I don't
Okay.
know. You know what? I'm an Oilers fan, but that still ticked me off. Like I don't like it when logic doesn't happen the way it's supposed to. That is not supposed to happen. Smith
uh,
is not supposed to play well there.
uh,
What?
uh,
What is
yeah,
that?
yeah, he actually looked really
Yeah,
good.
I know.
I mean, that was one of the other games that I watched. This was the other because well,
Mhm.
I have friends that are Edmonton fans, so I
Yeah,
pay a bit more to Edmonton, and because I have
yeah,
family that are in Chicago, I pay a little bit more to Chicago, and because I
yeah.
have family that live in Arizona, I pay a little bit more attention to Arizona. Same thing with San Jose, and
Hmm.
but whatever. But this was one of the other games that I watched too, and I thought this game here too was. I was really impressed with the pushback from Winnipeg,
Yeah,
but the fact that Edmonton just looked like they were the better team
all the way through.
for more of the game than Winnipeg did. I mean, they Winnipeg outshot them there a little bit, but they were able to come back, and I just thought this was one of the better games of the night too.
Yeah, it was a good game. Um, as an Oilers fan, I like to see the Oilers playing that type of game where they're the others are a flow team. They have to have
Yeah, yeah.
they're a total flow team, and that's why they have difficult time against teams like the Islanders, Columbus Blue Jackets when they're
Because they
playing the
break
way
up your flow.
they try to
They
break up their
interrupt
flow.
you in the neutral zone there, and they break your flow.
Yeah, but the problem, and then sometimes they break up their own flow by doing stupid things, and that's a problem with playing that type of system. But if you get in a groove, you can just ruin teams.
Yeah.
And last night, though, okay, we watched that game. They played pretty well, but Winnipeg really, honestly, should have won that game.
Yeah, yeah, because they played really well too. I mean, they just played really well. I was quite impressed with the pushback from Winnipeg.
Yeah, they are like that.
Yeah,
They're a very pushbackish team. They work on a very limited amount of skill. Although it's not like they don't have skilled guys, but I mean they don't have the Drysaddles and McDavids, that's for sure. They do have like Connors and they do have Shifley's great, but they're more they're more like play both ways type guys than just straight out gonna blow you away skill wise type guys. Hollebuck,
yeah, I'm with you on that.
if Hollebuck is in net for Winnipeg and Smith is in net for the Oilers, you don't not supposed to come away from that game saying Smith was the best goaltender tonight.
But he was.
He was, and that was
He
really what it
was.
came down to.
Okay,
If it
and
wasn't for
Edmonton,
Smith, Edmonton doesn't
yeah,
win that game.
I agree. I agree. And Edmonton, boy, they looked really good there on the power play, and I thought the score there that put it over the top for them really kind of broke the back there of Winnipeg. You could see that the air kind of came out of the tire there at the end for Winnipeg. But it was I tell you what, I was really impressed with how well Draisaitl was playing and how well that looked really good. The power play looked really good for them, and they've been kind of trying to put that together up there a little bit too. So I was impressed with what Edmonton did.
Well, Edmonton's power play should be the one of the best out there. I mean, you've got Drysaitel, Nugent Hopkins, McDavid,
Exactly.
Barry.
It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The,
Yeah.
the guy that really impressed me and is impressing me more, getting better and better every game, which I think could push the Oilers over the top here. where they could be like they were back in the 80s when they just out offense everybody, which I think is kind of what they have to do with the makeup of their team,
Yeah,
is Jesse Puljujarvi. Um,
yeah,
Jesse Puljujarvi, that goal that he scored, he's starting to score goals like that, where he just gets on his stick, he goes to the net, and he shoots it in the top corner. He's
that
turning it.
those were some beautiful goals too, man. Phew.
Yeah, he's got a great shot.
Yeah, man.
He's got a fantastic shot. He's got a powerful stride, and from the blue line in, he's pretty tough to contain. And you
Right.
throw that with McDavid and Nugent Hopkins, and that's one hell of a line.
I'm
Uh,
with you. I'm with you. I'm with
uh,
you. That's why, hey, that's why I was really impressed because they looked really good. And that's why I was really impressed with what Edmonton did during that game.
yeah, I still don't like. I mean, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just an Oilers fan and I'm a perfectionist or whatever. I don't know. But the game I'm seeing right now from the Oilers is can be beaten by a lot of teams if they play them the right way,
Yeah.
and it's something that hasn't changed for the Oilers for quite some time. But if Jesse Puljujarvi comes through, and like he's doing right now, Yamamoto's starting to get his legs.
Yeah.
If that top six can be that dynamic, it might not matter.
It might.
They're just going to beat teams seven
Yeah.
four, six
Yeah.
three, whatever,
They'll
and
have the offense and it won't matter.
it won't matter. And if they,
Yeah.
like we've talked about before, if they can go out and get a Kemper or Gibson or a
Or
goaltender like that,
somebody.
then
Oh my gosh.
watch out. Watch out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that 100% for sure.
That's really where it
Especially.
comes down to me.
Yep. Yep. Agreed. Agreed. 100%. All right, man. Well, that takes care of the North. That leaves us with one more game
Mm-hmm.
that happened last night. That was the Chicago and the Detroit uh, game. And I saw some of this. I didn't really get a chance to watch much of this because I was too busy watching the Florida Carolina and the Winnipeg Edmonton game. And I wasn't really paying much attention to this one, but I can tell you this. Chicago has been quite impressive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we did not have very many good things to say about Chicago at the beginning of the year.
Nope.
And I think we're eating a little bit of crow on that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, with the way Chicago's been playing, their goalie situation seems like it's. I mean, who knew? Who knew?
They did, obviously.
Right? Yeah, they obviously did. Rebuilding year. All right. 9-5-4, and you blank the Detroit. Okay, Detroit's not really
Yeah.
that much of
Yeah.
a team to
Yeah.
beat, but
Yeah. But they're still getting it done.
yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of teams that haven't got it done against Detroit. The Nashville Predators come to mind.
yep,
There's still you still got to get these games done, and it's not like Detroit's playing. Actually, Detroit's playing really well defensively.
yeah,
They just can't score, and
yeah.
that's really what their major problem is. But they could beat you because they play well defensively. But the Blackhawks, if you watch them, now you watch them obviously, right? They're playing with a lot of speed and they're playing with a lot of confidence and creativity.
Seems like they've been rejuvenated a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just seems because Kane has been on. What is he on now? 10-game point streak or 12-game point streak or something crazy like
Something
that,
like that. I didn't
right? I mean,
I didn't actually know that there was that much
yeah,
history.
right. Okay, so I mean, the guys are playing really well in Chicago, and it's been quite surprising because we didn't think that was going to be the case. You come right out and say, "Hey, we're rebuilding." Well, that's not how you come out and start the year, but I tell you what, all things considered, I've been pretty impressed with what Chicago's done this year so far.
Yeah, I have two. Some who was in the chat was it GoCap said, "How do I like Chicago?" And I said I love the Bowmans. And the Bowmans he didn't go. I don't think he's been. A lot of people don't know who the general managers in the league are. I just, like I said, watch a divorce-worthy amount of hockey and know way more than I should about hockey. But Stan and Scotty Bowman,
God bless your wife.
yeah, she's amazing. I found a wife that can keep herself busy and enjoy herself while I'm doing what I do, so it's wonderful.
Yeah. Like
But
I said, God bless your wife.
yeah, Scotty Bowman is one of the greatest minds to ever be in hockey in any capacity.
Agreed.
Probably the greatest coach of all time, has the most
Oh,
wins of
agreed.
all time,
Yep.
uh, greatest everything of all time. He built those Detroit Red Wings, and now he's over in Chicago. And yeah, I mean, I watch a lot of hockey, and the goat is the goat. He watches a lot of hockey, knows a lot about hockey, and we see Crawford gone and Lankinen and all these guys, and we go, yeah, they're going to be the worst team in the league next year. Well, all summer, the Bowmans are saying, we like this Lankinen kid. We think he's going to be great and all this stuff like that. And we're like, yeah, yeah. Why do we?
And they let Leonard go.
And then they let Laner go.
That's what I mean. Like what? Okay.
Yeah,
They obviously know what they're doing up there, huh?
they do. They do. They're great minds. And there's sometimes when you just, like, sometimes the right answer, which should have been in the summer for me, was this. I think I did mention, these are the Bowmans, right?
Yes.
I think I did mention it. These are the
Yes, you
Bowmans.
have.
So
Yep.
whatever I'm saying, probably just wait to find out because
More
they're
than likely.
they're brilliant. And I don't have the inside. I don't watch this kid Lankinen all the time.
Yeah, no.
I know he put up good numbers in Finland,
Yeah.
but he struggled in the AHL, and it looked from the outside like he wasn't ready. But they're
Well,
like, he's ready, and sure
yeah.
enough, he's
Sure enough,
ready.
yeah. A lot of times, them guys, when they first come over, struggle a little bit because they have to get used to a different ice size. And players
Yeah,
play a bit of a different defensive style in American hockey because of the fact that the rink is a different size. So that takes a little bit of time to get adjusted to, especially as a goalie. You know what I mean? To try to go from big ice to little ice. So,
yeah.
uh,
We're seeing it. What you mentioned, the Islanders. Saperkin had a good game last game, but
Sorokin was one like that too.
he put
Shosturkin's another one.
yeah. You got to adjust. He put up ridiculous numbers in the KHL. All of the players that you did. I mean, Lankinen, on the other hand, though, he put good numbers up in Finland, which isn't as strong of a league as the KHL. So
Agreed.
they saw something. And like I said, you've got great hockey minds like those guys. They come up with stuff that just blow your mind.
Can't argue with that.
Look at the Pius Suter. Anybody could have had Pius Suter.
I
Anybody.
mean, wait. Of all the names that you picked out, right? P.S. Suter, of all the names, really? That's the name you come up with?
Yeah, well, that's exactly. But I mean, he's got 6 goals this year or seven
That's
goals
what I
this year
mean.
already.
Like,
Like,
what? Where'd this guy come from?
yeah,
I'm
all of
with
a
you.
sudden, Pius Suter is, and I didn't even the name didn't even come up to wouldn't have come up to my head if you told me about it in the off season. Really well, really well. So
I agree. I agree 100%. Uh, yeah, I was, just for the correction here, Patrick Kane was drafted by the Blackhawks. He was not originally drafted by Philadelphia.
that's what I thought. So I don't know
So,
which
I,
player
the,
you're talking about that came from
I
Philadelphia. It's gonna
He's
bug.
right there on the tip of my tongue, and I can't think of it.
I don't think he's on the roster right now.
No, I don't think he is, but he was there for the Cup years.
And he was a winger or a center. Do you remember?
I think he was a winger.
Ah,
I
boy.
can't think of who he was.
It's
Anyway,
probably
that's all
gonna
right.
kick
It's,
me when it's probably gonna
it's irrelevant.
it'll probably come to me eventually because I
Patrick Sharp.
Patrick Sharp. There we go. Patrick Sharp. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he
Nice
yeah
pickup.
he was originally drafted by the Philadelphia Eagle or Philadelphia Flyers,
Yes.
and
Yes,
then
he
went
was.
to yeah. All right. I got it.
He
I
did
figured it out.
very well over there. So are we gonna go to tomorrow's games for the last
Yep,
half hour here?
yep. We got quite a few of them to go through too, don't we?
Yeah. So we're gonna have to go through them pretty quick.
Well, actually, we have today's games. Or do you
Today,
want
that's what I meant to say. Today's
to?
games.
Okay, today's games. Yeah.
Today's games,
All right.
not tomorrow's games. Tonight's
All right.
games.
All right. Cool.
Okay, so
We have to do quick fire though, right?
quick. How many games have we got?
One, two,
It's seven.
four,
Uh,
five, six, seven,
yeah, yeah.
8,
Uh, Devil.
9.
Okay, I find the first game that I'm going to bring up here very interesting because I am almost leaning the Devils for this game, if you can believe that.
You know what? After the way Boston played the last game, and with what John said, that was the perfect game for them to lose, and they surely did. I don't think that's going to be the case tonight, and I think New Jersey is kind of limping in a little bit, and I think this is the perfect game for Boston to come in there and to take care of business and reestablish the dominance in.
Lost you there for a second, but I got you back. I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
I really think it's going to be, especially with what we talked about with how Boston played the Islanders and how that was not their best game. I don't think that's going to be the case here for New Jersey. I think Boston's going to come in and clean house. I think it's going to be a Boston game all the way.
I don't think they're going to clean house. I just can't put any.
Well, what I mean by that is
They're going
it's
to
not going to
win.
be five
They're
to one,
they're going to win.
but I think they're going to take care of
I
business.
think they're likely going to win, but I'm really afraid of this New Jersey team right now. They're doing things
I am
over
too.
top of the. They're doing things like that I would never have expected. I was just looking at their roster too. If you want to look at, it's sort of they're sort of like Chicago of the East right now.
Yeah, and with Lindy Ruff, right, as their coach now. Okay, and with look, I like uh Blackwood down there in New Jersey, right, the goalie down there.
Yes.
And I really like how he's played. He's dropped off there a little bit, but he's been impressive. And I really like how Hughes has played in New Jersey. And I agree. I think New Jersey is that dangerous team. I just don't think it's going to be dangerous for Boston tonight.
I do. I think it is going to be dangerous. You know what that really floored me was that they came off a long layoff with 15-day layoff,
Yeah, it's 15 or 17 days, I think it
and
was.
then just spanked the New York Rangers all over the arena. I mean, I think that's more of a test.
Okay.
I think that's more of a testament to how the New York Rangers need to do something there because you can't let that happen. You can't. You can't let that
Okay.
happen.
Okay, I'm with you. I'm with you.
You know what I mean?
Not that the Rangers are the top of the East.
No, but
Okay.
still, you can't let that happen.
Right. I agree. No, I agree. So I think this is going to be a big test for New Jersey because if they can come out and win this game, then that's going to say a lot more about New Jersey than what we thought. You know what I mean? Because now that gives them a little bit more credibility. Oh, we faced down the big bad Boston Bruins and we punched them in the mouth.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I just think it's possible they could do it. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a one-goal game.
Every game that Boston plays is close.
True.
Boston doesn't go in there and outscore you
Pretty much.
7-1,
Yeah.
right? All they do is win the game. However it takes, however many, one goal, two goals, whatever it takes, that's what they do. This is not going to be the most exciting game, I don't think, of the night.
Yeah, I definitely think it'll be low scoring. And I mean, just with Blackwood, I think Halak has been, yeah, the Jacket said the Rangers haven't showed him that or her anything. I agree. The Rangers have been just absolute poop this year, and I thought that they could be a surprise team this year, but the
Yeah,
surprise is not the surprise I was thinking about.
the other way. You're surprised the other way.
I'm very
Like, wait a
surprised.
minute, what happened to them?
I'm very surprised. I thought at least after D'Angelo left, maybe that would change the energy of that team, but nope. And the lowest so far was that loss to New Jersey. Um,
Agree.
but New Jersey is a scrappy team. They're not going to give
Yeah,
up. And
yeah.
and you mentioned it. Lindy Ruff has got them believing that they can win every game, And if you believe you can win every game, you have a much better chance of winning every game.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, that's a whole mindset, especially when you go into a game and you look at the team across from you and you're like, yeah, we can beat these guys. Let's go. What?
Yeah. Steele, are you a Phillies fan? No. Oh, well, I let you answer. You're not even really a base.
Phillies fan, like the baseball team,
Yeah,
Phillies.
yeah.
All right, I watched the Phillies back when Charlie Hustle played. Yeah, that's Pete Rose for y'all that don't know that. I watched when Schmidt was playing and stuff like that. So I'm not really a Phillies fan. I don't really follow baseball much. So sorry to answer that. No, I'm not a real Phillies fan. I like to see him win. I'll root for him, but that's about as far as that goes. So thanks for the question, though. Appreciate it.
Do you root for them more than you would the Pirates?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I would root for the Phillies more than I would root for the Pirates. The only Pittsburgh team that I like is the Steelers.
Oh,
That
okay.
that's the only Pittsburgh team that I like. I do not like any of the college. The only Pittsburgh team I like is the Steelers. So all the rest I'd say would be I'm a Penn State college football fan, but I like all college football just because I like college football. I'm a huge Formula One fan. I'm a huge Tifosi, means I follow the Ferraris, and I like the Philadelphia Flyers. I'm a diehard Philadelphia Flyers, but I'm such a fan of hockey that I love to watch hockey and I love to talk about hockey. And any chance I get to talk to Pearlo about hockey, I'm down.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm, since you know, because you'll probably ask me too, I'm a Jays fan, I'm a Browns fan, I'm a Raptors
Sorry
fan,
about that.
I, I'm a Flyers fan, and an Oilers fan. And I'm also a Saints fan for now. But as soon as Breeze retires, I'm not anymore.
All right, I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. I also like Seattle a little bit in the NFL, and I also liked Pittsburgh West. That was Arizona for a number of years, where they had a lot of guys that were coaching in Pittsburgh were now coaching in Arizona. So I liked Arizona there for a little while too. So
Yeah.
and then a good friend of mine is a huge New York Giants fan. So we got to root for the Giants whenever they play, or a certain initials will be upset if I don't root for the Giants a little
Uh,
bit. So
okay.
that's
um,
JJ's team. He's a big Giants fan, so we have to root for the Giants whenever they play. So
my Caroline, she started watching hockey when she came here from Philippines, and she
it's all your fault,
as she was
Perlo.
watching hockey, she started. She said, "I think I'm a Pittsburgh Penguins fan," and I was like, "No, you don't. You got
Yeah,
no,
right.
no, you don't.
No, you're not.
No, you don't.
No,
You don't think
no,
that
no,
at
you don't.
all. I like
You know,
Sidney Crosby. Just keep that to yourself if that's all right. You can do that. Uh,
Okay. When we get off this show, we're gonna have a little talk
yeah,
here.
but
Yeah.
but she
No,
said
I'm just kidding. I'm
But
just
she
kidding.
said, well, I just like Sidney Crosby. It was like, okay, well, the good news is that you can probably sway it away from that. And she can. So we'll work on that.
I have found that the best way to teach any loved one about a game that you love, about hockey or about football, is take them to a game.
Oh, yeah, we will be doing that.
Okay.
That's for sure.
Yeah. Now I know we can't do that now.
Yeah.
But I'm here to tell you, you take them to a game and they'll yell at the TV louder than you do.
Yeah. Oh, and Caroline yells at the TV. She loves watching it.
Oh
She
yeah.
doesn't like watching it all the
Oh,
time, but when she gets down to watching something,
right.
she gets right
Yeah.
into it. So, anyways, Flyers
Hey,
versus the
your
Rangers.
favorite?
Sorry,
Yeah. Oh,
we
yeah. I
got
was just gonna say this is the game here, man. The Flyers and the Rangers
we
right
got to
here.
talk about this because there's so many factors to this game. The
Uh,
Flyers are missing 7 people from their lineup. Who are Konechny? Who else is? Who are they missing?
Giroux,
Giroux.
Konechny, Giroux, Voracek. Um, Frost did test, but he's not part of it. I think Braun is also out. I think Oscar
Hey,
Lindblom is out as well.
somebody out there in the ether took Braun out of the lineup. We didn't.
It
It,
took COVID to do it.
it took COVID.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my
He's
God!
finally out of the lineup. Wow, amazing.
Please,
Yeah,
if there is anybody out there, please,
yeah, exactly. Unfortunately,
please.
you had to take Konechny and all.
Yeah, a whole
Uh,
bunch of other guys out too.
too,
You know
isn't
what?
it? Yeah.
So it's going to be a patchwork team. You're going to see a lot of the taxi squad guys. Connor Bunneman is in. I think Tawinski's going to be in as well. So you're going to see a bunch of different guys in there for the Flyers tonight. I think you're going to see JVR is going to come to the fore. I think you might see um, some more of that. You know what I mean? More Coots. Coots is back. So from the injury, so we're going to see more Coots, and I think we might see a little bit more of Nolan Patrick. I think too, if he's not on the list, I can't remember if he is or not. But it's going to be tough because there's a lot of guys out, especially Giroux, TK. You know what I mean? Braun. Those a lot of those guys are out, and those are big guys to be missing from a Florida lineup. Do you think? What do you think about this game, Perlo? What do you think?
Well,
Even though New
Pan-
York is not the best team, and
I'm totally on the fence here. I mean, the Flyers are home. Carter Hart will be playing. I'm thinking it's going to be a low scoring game because a lot of their scoring's not in the lineup.
right?
Although Konechny wasn't really beating the world there when he was in. Uh, they.
Well, he had 4 goal or 5 goals.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess he did. He was doing better than I thought. I don't.
Yeah.
It's funny. I watch a lot of hockey and stuff, but I don't sit over the stats all that much. It's weird. I just kind of go by how I see. I haven't seen Konechny play the game that I like to see Konechny play as much
Well,
this
after
year.
he played really well, and then they sat him, and then he came out on fire,
Mm,
right? So Konechny got the message, but he's not going to be in the lineup tonight
yeah.
because he's on the list. So
After the pathetic performance I saw the Rangers put up against New Jersey, I think just about anybody can beat them. I'm leaning the Flyers here.
this is the perfect game for the Flyers to come back to, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the New York Rangers are not, what they really are or what they could be, or they're not playing that way.
Hmm.
And for a depleted Flyers team to come in there and play against the Rangers, I'm looking for some high tempo for the Flyers because they've been off since the 7th. They haven't played a game since the 7th.
Hmm.
So I'm looking for some up tempo, and it might not be a high scoring game, but I'm looking for some up tempo,
Well,
uh,
that was the other
at
thing.
least from the Flyers.
How long have
At
they been
least from the
off? How
Flyers
long have they been off?
since the 7th of February.
Yeah, see, that's the other thing. They're coming in with dead legs, right? But
Yep.
New Jersey was supposed to do that.
Well, they've been practicing now since Monday.
The,
Okay, so they're not completely dead
I
leg.
know, but it's still different.
I'm no, I'm with you.
Yeah,
They're not in game shape yet.
yeah, yeah. The Rangers should be able to win this game. I just have no faith in them that they will. That's really what it
No,
comes
I'm
down
with
to.
you. I'm
I think the Flyers will pull it
Yeah,
through in a
severe. Yeah,
2-1, something like
or
that.
3-2 or
Yeah,
something.
something like that. Just
I'm with you. This is one of those games where the Rangers should win, but I think Philadelphia is going to persevere. I'm with you
they
on that.
should have won against New Jersey, and I had them winning against New Jersey, and then that was the point where I was like, yeah, I'm not in on the Rangers anymore. And then
Yep.
of course the moment we go back to the North, the moment I said, okay, I don't know about Vancouver anymore. I know I've been saying they're going to come back. They come out and beat Calgary 5-1 with Hope being net. So, uh, yeah.
That's why I'm not the prognosticator, my man, for real.
I,
Uh, but we'll stay in the East, and we'll go for the Rangers or the Islanders and the Penguins.
right. Okay. Um,
Ooh.
this is a game that has again. Are the Islanders back? I mean, they just played. I think it was Buffalo twice, right? And yeah, they played their game. They got up early. They played the Islanders game, and they beat Buffalo. So like that, okay, like just about anybody can play their game and beat Buffalo. Buffalo has no pushback, no heart, no nothing. Now you're playing against a Penguins team who has a little less depleted D line than they did, and they can come
And playing better of
and
late.
they can come back and find ways to win. I'm not a I don't know. I don't know in this game. I
I will say this. I will say this. If the Islanders come out and put it to them, then we have our answer, don't we? But if Pittsburgh comes out and puts the pedal to the metal, then we also have our answer then too, because you know what, you pointed out perfectly, Perlo, that this is that game that the Islanders should win.
mhm.
Okay, but is Pittsburgh going to be too much for them? Is Pittsburgh playing too well for them?
The thing is Pittsburgh uh, win a lot of games they shouldn't win, and that's what makes Pittsburgh ex Stanley Cup team. Boston Bruins are like that. The Cup winners generally are like that. So New York now this year is the first time where I say they're just out of sorts. They've been out of
Yep.
sorts. Now they looked
Yep.
okay against Buffalo. They looked good against Buffalo. But now you're, yeah, like you said, now you're applying that to a team that's not going to give up.
That has pushback.
Pittsburgh's never going to give up.
Right.
That's the thing about Pittsburgh. They will never give up. Even if they
Yeah.
lose 5-1, Pittsburgh
Yeah.
never gives up.
Even watching that game there when they played against Washington, and that game was far gone, and they were still skating and trying to win, or still skating and still playing.
Yeah.
That to me is that to me is a team that's still trying. So what do you think, man? Do you think Pittsburgh's going to be too much for the Islanders on this?
I'm really on the fence about this game. I think it's going to be
Yeah, this
I
is
think it's
about a
going to
coin
be
flip.
I think it's going to be a one goal game, and because it's the
Yep,
Islanders,
overtime.
it'll probably be a low scoring game. If it goes to overtime, I take the Pens. That's where I
Yeah.
lean to Pittsburgh because of that. Because the Islanders have no idea what to do in overtime.
Okay.
I don't even think they practice 3-on-3. I swear to God. When
I find that very hard to believe from a Barry Trotz
Oh
team,
no,
but
I don't because Barry Trotz is like, okay, as long as we get the point, I'm not going to waste our time doing
all right.
3-on-3. You know what? You know what Barry Trotz's idea for 3-on-3 is? Get in, shoot, try to end it early. That's it. That's all he wants.
All right. Okay. Can't argue with you on that.
I don't want you guys to bag yourselves out for 5 minutes for 1 point. I kind of get what he's saying. This is a long season, a condensed season. Just get it in, shoot, hope you score, and move on. If they score, whatever. It's almost like he says he views it as a coin flip anyway. So
Yeah. Yeah.
and he doesn't have the pieces to go who like Barzal.
Yeah.
Barzal
Yeah.
Lee's not that guy. You
No.
know,
Yeah.
Pitt,
Nurse isn't that guy neither. Yeah.
Pittsburgh's going to destroy you in overtime most of the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you.
the
All
team,
right. So we think if it goes to overtime, Pittsburgh's going to win, but the Islanders might have a shot, but we think maybe Pittsburgh's going to still be the one.
could be. Yeah, I mean,
Could be. All right.
I think
This is the coin flip game.
it's a coin flip game. Yeah, it very
There
much
you
is a
go.
coin flip game. Right?
All right. The next coin flip game is your favorite team in the whole land is Columbus. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase. Your most favorite coached team is Columbus Blue Jackets against Nashville Predators.
No, we just talked about my favorite coach, Barry Trotz, but I find it the most fascinatingly coached team, Columbus Blue Jackets against a poopty. Now I got Columbus all day on this. I can't.
You know what? You know what? Look, I I have not been impressed with how Columbus has played the last couple of
I
games,
agree.
and especially with they brought Line in and all that, and he went through his maturation process. Well, he learned his lesson not to speak back to the coaches and all that, and
Yeah.
blah blah blah, and all that, and he's played pretty decently well, being on the team and all that. Now, after that, but Columbus just they're just not the team. I just I don't have that faith in them this year. I don't see it. I just don't see it for them. And
Yeah.
quite honestly, I don't see it for Nashville either. But I think this is going to probably be that game where if Columbus doesn't win this game, then some talk is going to happen, I
Oh,
think.
for sure. This is a must win. You have
Agreed.
you got to beat Nashville here. It's
Yeah.
pretty much right now. Anytime Nashville goes into anyone's barn, or is Columbus on the road or at home here? If they're at home,
No, it's Nashville at Columbus.
yeah.
Yeah.
Any time that Nashville comes into your barn now, that team that loses is going to have to wake themselves up because this team has nothing. They look absolutely diabolically bad.
Agreed.
I don't care what the rest of the records in the league are. This is the worst team in the league.
I'm with you.
They're terrible. So you
One
have
of.
to Columbus has got to win this game. I think Columbus will be fine. There's a turnaround change. They have to figure out the style that they're going to play now with a Lion in there, and the Lions got to do things a little differently. I think they'll be fine. But as long as Merzlikins is back, the biggest problem that has been,
Yeah, they were missing him for a couple of
yeah,
games.
Corpusalo's just not the guy. He's just not the
Right.
guy. And they don't have the team really now to play the system that was made Corpusalo look good. They got to
Yeah.
play a little more offensive now, and that'll be interesting to see what the Jackets do. But I just don't see any pushback. I can't take Nashville. I just can't. If they win,
Okay.
I'll be very, 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 very
Okay.
surprised.
I don't think. I think this game is going to be a little easier. The Toronto Maple Leafs against the Ottawa Senators. This is in Toronto. This is a rematch of last night's game.
Oh,
Did
the Toronto game. Are we going to
Yeah,
that one now?
Toronto Ottawa.
Okay.
Yeah, Toronto Ottawa.
This is in. I think Toronto will win.
Yeah.
I think Ottawa's been fighting pretty hard through this, but I think Toronto will get it figured out. This will be the game where Toronto does not underrate Ottawa in any stretch at any stretch, and
Nope. And this one's going to be ugly for Ottawa, I believe.
it could be.
Yeah,
Holberg is
could
in.
be.
He's been playing better, but I
Yeah.
hope not. I hope Ottawa.
Yeah.
I like
I
it's
mean,
fun watching Ottawa beat up on Toronto. I'm sorry.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yeah, and
This
if
is
we
a
have Leafs fans out there, it's not because I don't like your city or anything like that. It's just the way your team is made up. I like to see those teams get beat up.
But I will say this though, we both have been very much impressed with what Toronto has done this year.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
both questioned whether or not their goaltending was going to be able to hold up, and whether or not their defense was going to be able to come together, and whether or not they were going to be able to put it right on the ice. And it looks like they've been able to do it this year, no matter who they've faced. And they're facing all the northern teams, all the Canadian teams for this season. So I think it's going to bode well for Toronto, at least to be in the top two here at the end.
Here's the thing about this game, though, that puts a little wrinkle and certainly will make you want to watch it. From what
Oh,
I
I'll be watching this one too, or at least checking in.
understand, their third string goaltender for Toronto will be in net. Yes, he is Michael Hutchinson.
Oh my.
Yeah. So that changes it altogether. I would
That that
you would have
does that mean that gives Ottawa a glimmer?
you would have to think that this is going to be over the 6.5 that I think that they talk about, but a big high scoring game, anyways. But I just don't know with these teams right now. Do you agree? Like, I look at
Yeah.
this and I go, I don't know what's going to happen between Toronto and Ottawa right now.
No.
I want to say
No.
Toronto should, but Ottawa's turned those shoulds into yeah, maybe not.
And
It's like
especially now with Hutchinson in now, learning that that's the third string goalie, that's a bit of a different story now.
I'll tell you right
Hey,
now,
look,
Hutchinson's not a good goaltender.
and that's what I mean. So, okay, here we go. It's given Ottawa a glimmer of hope.
Yeah, I would if I'm Ottawa here, I would probably go back to back.
I am coming.
I would go back to back with Murray here.
Yeah, but I'm
I
coming.
wouldn't put Hogberg in here. I'd go back to back
No,
with
I'm
Murray.
with you.
The only
I'm with you. But
problem
if I
is Murray just came off the IR, injured reserve. So
well, no, but he played last night.
yeah, and he but I know
Okay,
but he was injured before he played last night.
okay.
So I if whatever that injury
It
is,
might be
they
Hogberg then
they
coming
would
out because
probably
it's a
be
back to back.
yeah. So
Yeah, it
that
might be him because it is a back to back.
they
So,
still
uh,
haven't said who it is, which ticks me off. But yeah.
well, they're allowed.
Okay,
It's up to
let's go to the next game quick. We'll get through all of these.
Woo, Buffalo, Washington.
Washington all day. I'm just a little concerned with how much this Vitek Vanacek's playing.
Uh this is a trap game, I think. Washington has lost the last what, 5 games?
Oh, they won their last one.
Last one. Oh, but they lost 4
They won against
in a row.
Pittsburgh, and now they're going against Buffalo.
Okay, so they beat Pittsburgh. All right. Well, could this be a trap game, do you think?
This, if there's a spot for Buffalo to beat Washington, it feels like it's here because uh, just with Vanacek has just played Pittsburgh 2 days ago. I think he's played 7 or 8 games in a row. He's just a kid. But the
That's
problem,
why that's why I'm asking you. That's why I'm asking you if this is a trap game.
yeah, the problem is the Sabres just like like
Yeah, they just
like
don't have any teeth.
Nashville, Nashville,
There's
Buffalo
no
is probably
teeth.
the two worst teams in the league.
The Sabres are all fur and no
Good
teeth.
point. That's a great way of putting it. There's no teeth on this lineup. Do
Yeah.
when you watch Buffalo right now, do you like almost shed a tear for Eichel every time you watch him play on these
Yes.
teams?
Yes.
Like it
Like, how do you
is
have to play with such a horrible team? Seriously.
so sad to see a guy try so hard and everybody else be like, yeah,
And you know what's really sad? He's the best player on their team, and every single night he's the best player on the ice.
yeah, pretty
That's
close,
sad.
pretty
The
close.
fact that they have nobody else around him like that after all this time is sad.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's just my opinion, but hey, I think this
absolutely.
could
It's
potentially,
very
this
sad.
game to me feels like it has potential to be that trap game. But then again, maybe not. If Washington comes out and looks good and their goaltending can withstand that first 10-minute barrage, then I think Washington's going to be okay.
I think Washington will likely win.
Yeah, yeah,
When I saw them play in Pittsburgh, there, uh,
that looked really good.
they
Yeah,
look pretty solid. If they play like that against Buffalo, I just
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm with you on that. Agreed, 100%. All
I
right.
just can't. If it happens, it would be a surprise for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
What's up?
That would be one of those ones.
Okay, what's the next game?
San Jose, St. Louis.
Uh,
That's the 8 o'clock game.
San Jose's really banged up. They've
Yep,
got Carlson out, Simic out
yep.
to a D line that is not very good to begin with. They don't have great goaltending. Blues have Schwartz out. They have a couple guys out too. I just don't think
I think they're a better team.
they're just a better team. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
yeah. I'm
just
with you on that. I'm with you on that. Blues all the way. I'm with you
I'm
on that.
taking the Blues.
Yeah.
Yep,
Here's the next one though that could be very interesting. The L.A. Kings versus the Arizona Coyotes.
very interesting. Yeah, the Kings have somebody brought out. I think it was Jacket who's in the chat right now. Brought up the fact that the Kings have the best power play in the league right now.
Yeah, man. They're like 21 out of 24 or something like that.
Cra-
It's amazing how their power play is, and and Arizona power penalty kill is well hurting to say the least. Yeah, that would be a good way to put it.
Yeah, I like the Kings to keep it close at least. It's one another coin flip. I like it to be a low scoring game, and the
I
Coyotes.
like
It's hard to go against the work ethic of the Coyotes, but
Yeah, but
the Kings aren't lazy. you know.
no, I like the Kings on this all day. Kopitar's on a point streak, as well. So I'm all, especially with that power play that they have. Man, I'll tell you what, I'm definitely with the Kings on this one all day long over Arizona.
Yeah, well, okay, that's interesting. Um, I could definitely see the Kings winning this for sure. I just
Yeah.
Rick Tocchet has those Coyotes
No,
playing
but I agree,
hard.
though. Yeah, I agree. Arizona does have some pushback, and they've been playing better than expected this past year.
Yeah,
So this potentially could be, sorry for the for the co-host there.
yeah.
she's
They got a.
she's putting in her picks too. So
I think it's a coin flip game. The more I think about it, though, I think I lean with you on the Kings. The Wild versus the Ducks. Again, the Wild have some people out for COVID, but
and
uh,
yeah, they're just starting to come back
they just
from being out.
they just got beat by LA because and their feet weren't moving at all during that game.
Right, that's what I mean.
But now their feet are moving a little more. Again, another coin flip game to me. I think the Wild will probably pull it out, but
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. I think that's a better game for Minnesota to play. This is their second game back. Anaheim hasn't been the best of teams this year so far. They've been kind of down, and so I really, yeah, I'm with you on that. I do agree. It's one of those. All right, yeah, we'll take the Minnesota team.
yeah. The Ducks have
Yeah,
the Ducks don't give up either. They won't. It's going to be a difficult win. I mean, especially with Gibson and net. The Wild now it's their second game, but they're still trying to get their timing down. The only thing I really do like to say is this is going to be a low scoring game for sure.
I'm with you.
And then that's it because the Stars game is canceled.
And the Tampa Bay game got postponed because of
The,
the ice
yeah,
storm in Dallas, which caused power outages. So this is the second game now that's been postponed because of power outages in Dallas.
yeah.
So it has nothing to do with COVID. It has to do with the fact that there's no power. At one point, there was 5 million folks in Texas that did not have power. Most of
What?
it around the Houston, Dallas area.
Wow.
Uh, yeah. So, and that number now has gotten much better now, where it's like closer to 500,000 people instead of 5 million people. So, yeah, once the weather turns a little bit more and the ice goes away, then they'll have power back and stuff. Yeah, it's crazy, man. They've been telling stories about people bringing their grills into their house so they could have some heat because they have no heat and
Yeah.
it's 20 degrees. You know what I mean? So,
Wow. That's crazy.
yeah,
Especially
man.
especially for a place where they don't
They're
know
not used to that.
they're not used to cold at all. Like I couldn't imagine.
And that's the other thing too here in the States, where if like say places in Florida and Georgia and Texas, where all of their water mains are not buried as deep into the ground because they don't get the permafrost. Okay. Like the ground doesn't freeze down there. So they can put their pipes closer to the surface. Where here in the north, in Pennsylvania, you have to bury the pipes a little deeper because the ground gets frozen because it gets colder here and stays colder for longer.
Right.
So you have to have the pipes lower in the ground so they don't freeze. And that's the other problem that's going on in Dallas and in Texas right now too, where their water mains are breaking because they're frozen, and then once they freeze, then they crack, and then that's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's I know all of that stuff. I mean, I just can't imagine. It's just crazy what's happening out there with the weather and everything that's going on. It's I couldn't imagine.
Exactly.
I couldn't imagine what people are going through in those situations. Who wakes up and expects a blizzard in Texas?
And with like a half an inch of ice.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
right. We know what a quarter inch of ice can do, but a half an inch of ice, that's a lot of ice. That brings down trees and power lines and stuff all by itself. You
Somebody,
don't have to have any wind or anything going on. So,
I was listening to Sirius Radio this morning, and they talked about how there was snow in I can't remember if it was Texas or some southern place where they don't get snow anyways, and they there were it froze up their it froze up the undercarriage of a school bus, and they tried the police came and they tried to shoot at the undercarriage with their guns to break the
To break
ice.
the ice up. Now that is intelligent.
Oh,
Oh
that was
man.
I was laughing my butt off this morning after I dropped Caroline off to work.
No.
Which by
Please don't do that.
Yeah, not a good idea. Anyways, boys and girls, that's our full 42 today, and I feel like I gave the whole 42 today. I really do.
Yes. Yes, I definitely feel like I've given the whole 42% today for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. I might do some deep knee bends and get my, those things. Get my blood
Yeah.
flowing before I go pick up Caroline here.
There you go,
Thanks
man.
you all for
All
coming
good.
in. I hope you hit that subscribe button. Your My NHL Pearls of Wisdom necklace is on the way right now. Melissa and Hernandez will bring it to you. Steel. What do you got coming up? What do we got coming up on the Steel Flyers All Sports Network, the finest network in the land, sir?
Oh man, I'll tell you, we've had all kinds of great stuff. Sorry for the little bit of delay there. Had a little bit of surgery. But we were able to put out the Hockey Writers Inc. was out. We're going to be putting out a show tomorrow with Off the Wall Hockey. We got that coming out on Fridays. We're doing the Pearlo show every day now. That's coming out. We got new sponsors. So that's going to be also that's going to be part of the show that we'll be doing here as well. That's www.cccresorts.com. All of your pet grooming needs. They have an indoor and an outdoor saltwater pool that doesn't affect the dog's skin or anything like that. They do daycare, they do pet grooming, all the things you need to take care of your dog at www.ccc Resorts. New sponsor for us. So all kinds of great things coming, and be looking for Perlo every single day.
Yeah, I told Caroline about that because we're gonna get a dog when we move from this place, and
There you
I
go.
told her if they have an outdoor pool, and she goes, "Oh, that's crazy! It's like it's so over the top," and I'm like, "Yeah, but we'll do it, right?" She's like, "Yeah, absolutely."
Of course. I mean, come on. How would you not want to see your dog swimming? It's so awesome.
Oh,
And
in a
the
saltwater pool.
facility there, the facility there is so good and they take care of your pets so much. It's just so awesome. And we're so lucky to have them as part of our sponsors. So appreciate all that. Appreciate everything that Perlo's doing. Appreciate everything that John from Off the Wall Hockey, from Joe Boric for Sports Fanatic News, from
His new show now live, right?
yeah, Joe with the new show, Sports Fanatic News, that dropped last night. That'll be coming out every week as well. And then we also got Peyton on the radio doing stuff with us, and appreciate all the stuff he's been doing with that. And, all the great followers and all the great folks, man, we really appreciate you doing that. This is why we do this. Is because of you guys out there. You guys tell us what you guys like, and we put it out there and we give it to you. We're
Yep.
all about the truth, and we're all about what's going on with the game. So thank you all very much.
Yeah. All right. See you tomorrow, 3 to 5 Eastern, the Perlo Show. We don't even know what guests we may have. You'll have to come and find out. But the frolic will be endless. We know that. Have a great day,
That's right.
everybody. Lots of love to ya. Okay, bye.